Welcome back to The Real Story. New York prison guard now charged with 3 felonies in connection to the prison break upstate. Lawyer for the guard admits his client gave the inmates tools, but says he didn't know the inmates were planning to escape. Gene Palmer's lawyer says he's cooperating with authorities. He's now free on $25,000 bail. Keisha Kluge is a reporter for Albany Times-Union. Dan Schorr, a former prosecutor, both join me on this story. Keisha, let me start with you. You're up there on location. What do we know about this former, or, well, still corrections officer who's now been charged with serious crimes?
Well, Gene Palmer has worked at the facility for more than 27 years, but he was on the honor block for about 8 years, during which time both Matt and Sweat were transferred to the block.
All right.
At this time, I understand he's out on bail, as you said.
Okay, he's supposed to be in court 4 p.m. Eastern time. It's unclear whether or not it will just be his attorney or if Mr. Palmer will also be there. But let me ask you this. This story keeps getting more bizarre by the moment. Apparently, allegedly, he received artwork made by one of the murderers as payback for bringing in illegally these tools to them and also paint. Is that what you're hearing?
Yes, he made a statement to the police in which he said he received paintings from, I'm assuming Matt, because he is the artist, as well as information on the activities of other inmates.
Okay, I want to bring it back in studio to Dan Schorr. Now, here's one of the paintings, Dan, apparently he did, of Hillary Clinton. I mean, he looks like he's a fantastic artist, so maybe this makes more sense now. But are you going to create and do felonies for artwork?
Right, exactly. And it's important to look at the elements of the crime. For tampering with evidence, the second charge, the E felony, that's because he tried to allegedly burn these paintings and bury some of them to hide the evidence once investigators were looking into this.
Interesting.
As far as the promoting contraband charge, which is the higher charge, that's a D felony. He's facing 7 years in prison. The standard is whether he unlawfully entered with contraband and brought it into the prison. So even if he didn't know about their plans to escape, if he intentionally and unlawfully brought in contraband, that would be enough to convict him.
Well, what do you make of the fact that his lawyer's already saying in a short period of time, yeah, I confess, he did bring that stuff in, but he didn't do it knowingly. If you were representing him, is that a good or a bad move?
I think it's going to come down to intent, so they have to argue that. And there's 2 separate parts of the contraband. One is the part that was in the meat that was given to him by the other corrections officer, and he's saying, I didn't know there were materials in the meat. Then there's the other contraband, that is the art supplies, the tools for the electrical work.
He took them up to the catwalk, and that's eventually how they escaped?
No, he acknowledges that he brought those in, but he's saying that he did that for legitimate purposes and that they're not actual contraband. That's going to be the issue. Was it contraband, and what did he know? Did he intend to bring it in unlawfully?
All right, Keisha, what's the word on the street where you are, up in Owl's Head, New York, where all this went down? Is there anything that's coming in today that says that authorities are closer to nabbing these guys?
It really looks the same as it has been the past few days. The helicopters are still going. The crews, the law enforcement crews are still out. They're checking on tips here and there. So it really feels like it could happen, but then again, it could just be more false hopes here and there.
Okay. Dan, do you think that other people will end up being arrested, that it will be more, in your mind, than just these 2 so far?
Well, we don't know yet, but I'm sure that, especially the second person who was arrested today, he's being cooperative, supposedly. So if other people were involved, you would think he would give those names to authorities. If he continues to cooperate, certainly that's going to be a factor in what he's ultimately convicted of, and any sentence that would be given to him would be based on how cooperative he was if he's convicted.
I just think it's fascinating that at least 2 prison workers could be hoodwinked by these 2 murderers, and apparently they had so much charm and their artwork was so amazing that they would risk their own freedoms for these 2 guys. It's unbelievable. Dan and Keisha, thank you so much.